Today with Johnny J. Mathis, home inspector from Meticulous Vision Home Inspection. And I am Jaunae Carter with Howard Hanna. And I wanted to just ask a few questions that I think that buyers and even sellers might want to know from a home inspector, because this is a process. And so I'm going to let Johnny go ahead and introduce himself, and then we'll get started with the interview.
So I am Johnny Mathis. Everyone calls me Jay Mathis, so either name is fine. I'm actually excited to be here, and thank you, Janae, for allowing me to, you know, be a part of this video and talk with each person about home inspection, something that I'm passionate and excited about.
Awesome. Okay, so the first question that's probably on everyone's mind when they purchase a home, one of the first things that they have to do after they get into a sales contract with a seller is get a home inspection. So they probably want to know, hey, how much is this going to cost me? So, can you just give us some ballpark figures about, you don't have to give us exact figures, but just, around how much it costs?
Okay, you know what, and then that is a big question. Um, and what I want to say this that an inspection is very important, and the range of price, it may scare you sometimes, but it's definitely worth it. So just a good range and a good rule of thumb to go off of. A general home inspection typically typically cost you a range from, I would say, 300 to about $500, depending on the inspector. It's different across the board. But there's also different services that people can give you. So there's septic, well and septic inspections, there's pests, and there's radon inspections, and those are typically an added cost. So to get a good ballpark, say if you get three services, let's say radon, general home inspection, and pest inspection, you're typically going to pay in the ballpark of around $450. And usually an inspector that's really good, they'll work with you and usually bundle those services that you add on top of your general home inspection. So roughly it could be a little less, roughly it could be a little more. It just depends on the inspector.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I heard you touch on the different types of inspections. There's a general home inspection, and that pretty much just checks out the house, the inside, the outside of the house. And then you've got pests, radon. Sometimes if you're like in an area that has well and septic, you'll have a well and septic inspection. But could you touch a little bit on radon? Because a lot of people don't know. A lot of my clients say, hey, Janae, what is radon? And then I try and explain it to them, but I think you'll do a better job even than I would. So,
Okay. So radon is an odorless gas that is developed underground. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's all Ohio is one of the more hot spots that you would say in the United States for radon. Um, so what the dangers of it is, the when it comes becomes dangerous, it's from long time exposure. So we're buying our houses and we're living in these houses 10, 20 years, and that's where the problem comes in. We have different situations with radon in our in our everyday lives and in our different houses that we live in, and we don't know the dangers of it. It is the number two leading cause of lung cancer in the United States as of right now. So it's something that goes unsaid, but it is very dangerous. It's very important to test for radon, and it's very important to know what radon is about. So when radon becomes dangerous is when it's, I'm gonna get a little sciency here. Is when it gets to 4.0 picoliters. That is called action level. So anything below that, long-term exposure, you won't be affected. But anything above that 4.0 level, you begin to start developing signs and running a greater risk to develop lung cancer over the course of time. So with radon, it's very important to test it. that's an explanation of it in a nutshell.
That's awesome. No, I really appreciate that because a lot of people ask that question. And I remember my realtor explaining it to me just pretty much the way you did. And the house that I purchased did have radon in it. So we had to negotiate with the seller to have a radon mitigation system installed. So it's really important. And that leads me to my next question. And I won't hold you too long because I know that we're all working from home. You see my dog walking around here in the background, and we know there's a distraction. So I don't want to keep you too long. I may have one or two more questions. So you kind of answered the one, which is it really necessary? You can see that it's necessary. Do you want to expound on that? Because you said radon test for lung cancer. I mean, it's a test that can help you prevent lung cancer.
Hmm.
And then why else is a home inspection necessary?
Because you want to, this is one of the biggest investments that you're going to be making probably in your whole lifetime. And you want to see exactly what's going on in that home. Um, you know, 90% of people have no idea what's going on. No one really knows how to check a furnace and see if it's okay, or no one really knows how to test for mold, if or even identify mold. They can say, "Hey, that may be mold there." So these are things that creep up. It's important because you have a lot of variables in a house. There's a lot of high dollar things. So you don't want to buy a house and in the summertime and then have a have your furnace go out on you when you're in the dead of winter. No, we don't want that. So that's what the home inspection is for, is to determine the high dollar things that may be going on, and that may arise, that can affect your purchase. And we all know we don't want to come out the pocket any more than we have to. We're already paying a nice price tag on our home, and we want it to be perfect. So that's what the home inspector is here for, to give you that peace of mind to where you can say, "Hey, yes, this is my home, and I feel safe in it."
Awesome. Okay. Well, now that you've explained why it's necessary, what are some of the components, like what things make up a general home inspection? What are just some of the things that you look
Okay. So I could just go over how I start my inspection. I typically start on the outside, the exterior of the home, and then check around the foundation walls. Sorry about that. I got my kids running
okay? I love
around.
kids.
So we started on the foundation walls, and we checked the whole outside, the siding, whether it's intact, gutters, if they're intact, and different things along that line. Different things along that lines. Everything that could go wrong on the outside, the slopage of the ground. Then I make my way inside. I check the interior rooms, um, if the trims it all right, outlets, if there are potential fire hazards that may be going on in the home. From interior room standpoint, we're checking the kitchen, we're checking faucets, we're checking outlets, we're checking garbage disposals, any appliance that's in the house. And then on my inspections as well, I'm checking the attic and I'm checking the foundation. Those are my last two things that I'm checking throughout the inspection. Checking your furnace, I'm checking your joists, I'm checking the foundation walls to see if it's leaking. When I'm in the attic, I'm checking to see if you have adequate insulation in the home. No one wants to pay more than they have to on a high, because they're losing heat out of their home. So those are just the typical things that, in a nutshell, it's in great detail during the inspection, but explaining it is, those are typically things that I check for as I'm
Okay.
doing my inspections.
Okay. I saw your wife. Tell her I said hi.
Okay, I will.
You know, the great thing about this is Johnny and his wife are former clients of mine too. So I really appreciate them. I appreciate their knowledge. I appreciate them sharing that with everyone here. And we were laughing at the beginning because we're at home. And so we've got kids and family in the background. So that's okay
Right.
because everybody is buying a home for that reason because we need it for our kids and our family. So I love this interview. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And I hope that everyone has learned some things about home inspection, why it's important, about radon, and how it's a colorless, odorless gas that's really common in Ohio, and how a home inspection can save you money in the long run. So thanks again, Mr.
No
Mathis. We
problem.
appreciate you. And I'm going to say good night to everybody. And if you have any questions, please contact me at jaunaecarter.howardhanna.com. You can find my contact info, and I can also give you Jay's contact info as well. All right. Thanks,
Awesome.
Jay.
Thank you, Jaunae.